Nader Hashemi is the director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Denver. He joins us now live via Skype. Good to have you with us, sir. Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, is on a tour of, quote, brotherly Arab countries, according to the Saudi official news agency. Why?
Well, I think he's trying to rehabilitate his despotic image after almost 2 months of negative press coverage over his role in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So I think that's fundamentally the plan.
So what happens not only when he tours the region, but when he gets as far as the G20 towards the end of the month in Buenos Aires?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's going to be an important clarifying moment for the world in terms of where they stand on the policies of MBS. I think the spotlight is going to be specifically on France, Germany, and the United Kingdom and Canada as to whether any of those leaders in Argentina are willing to shake the blood-soaked hand of MBS, given his role in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, but also what the Saudi Crown Prince is doing in Yemen. I mean, just a few days ago, there was a report by the aid organization Save the Children that said over the last 3 years, 85,000 children under the age of 5 have starved to death in Yemen. And so our world leaders, particularly those leaders that claim to have a foreign policy guided by a sense of ethics and human rights, are they going to shake the hand of the person who's presided over this disaster? We all wait to see what the outcome of that will be. But I think those leaders in the countries that I mentioned are in a difficult spot at this moment as they contemplate the G20 summit.
You say that Saudi Arabia is aiming, I suppose, to rehabilitate the Crown Prince's image internationally. What components, though, of the international community will actually buy into that narrative? You talk about heads of state in particular, but what about other elements of Western society?
Well, that's a great question. I think we have to make distinctions between politicians who are influenced by lobby groups and are motivated by business interests, and then, global civil society. The murder of Jamal Khashoggi and the war in Yemen now have drawn attention, shine a spotlight on Saudi Arabia like we've never seen before. And there is, a momentum and a cause that has developed in the aftermath of the murder of Jamal that is not going to let this issue sort of be dropped or sidelined just because some Western governments want to engage in economic relations. So I think, that's something to watch for. I think fundamentally, in my view, what's driving this story is really global public outrage around the world over this particular incident. I would like to point out, though, I think that the Saudi Crown Prince could find himself in legal jeopardy if he decides to go to the G20 summit under the principle of universal jurisdiction, if there is a case brought against the Saudi Crown Prince for war crimes or for murder in another court that is considered to be credible, then a judgment and an indictment can be issued against him when he arrives in Buenos Aires. So I suspect this is something that his lawyers and his advisors are looking into, and I'm certainly hoping that human rights groups in Argentina right now are preparing a case against the Saudi Prince, not only for his murder of Jamal Khashoggi, but for what the Saudi Crown Prince has been doing in Yemen.
And I suppose the threat of that, a law case against him, could hang over him for goodness knows how long into the future, couldn't it?
Well, that's true, and I think this is the real test case because this is the first trip that he's making. Now, we don't expect, an independent court to issue a judgment against him in Egypt or in the Emirates. But when he travels to Argentina for the G20 summit, this is, the first, attempt for him to step onto the world stage. And there are cases in Argentina right now that that relate to this question of universal jurisdiction. So I think, certainly it applies to the Crown Prince and what he's been doing, and it'll be very interesting to see whether there is any legal jeopardy that the Saudi Crown Prince finds himself in as a result of the policies that he's been pursuing. The world will be watching, and I think it'll be an important clarifying moment for the global community.
Good to talk to you, sir, as always. Many thanks indeed. Nader Hashemi there, the director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Denver.